My job is so good. This is another thrill, sitting with Steve Buscemi. Steve, how are you? Nice.
Good.
Thanks for doing this. You may recognize Steve from, I don't know, Reservoir Dogs. And it's hard to know what to include. I'll say Armageddon, I'm gonna say Con Air, a bunch of Adam Sandler movies, which are a joy in every single one of them.
They're always fun to do.
They're always fun to do, I bet. And then just on the Coen Brothers alone, you could retire on Miller's Crossing and Fargo and The Big Lebowski. Steve has programmed his 2-for-1, his double feature. We're gonna start with Scarecrow, and then we'll have Dog Day Afternoon. It's 2 Al Pacino films. So why did you program these 2 together?
I mean, mainly because Al Pacino, who, is one of my biggest inspirations, the fact that they were, both these movies were made in the 70s,
Scarecrow 73 and Dog Day is just 2 years later.
Yeah, because I think studios were making such interesting films then.
Yeah.
They were more like independent films of today or the 90s.
Right.
And there was just something about Scarecrow. I remember seeing it, I still lived in Long Island then, and it was one of the movies that, I went to without, like my dad used to take us to like a lot of films. This was one that I just went with my friends. We used to just go to the movies. You remember? Like,
you would have been like 16 years old, right?
I was a sophomore in high school, and we knew who Al Pacino was only from The Godfather, and I probably only knew Gene Hackman from The French Connection. But in those days, you just went to see movies just because they were playing, and I just remember watching it going, I don't know if I like this yet. Like, what is this?
It is nothing like The Godfather. It is nothing like The French Connection. Both these guys, obviously, at this point, huge, colossal stars now. Pacino and Hackman, if you're gonna make a top 5 list of the greatest American actors ever, they're on it. Totally different styles.
Yeah.
And they didn't get along at
Really?
all. But Hackman considers it one of the great performances of his life.
Favorite roles, yeah.
And Pacino recognizes how great it is, too, and that you don't have to get along for 2 actors to turn in sensational performances, even when they're in every single scene together.
Yeah.
Boy, some partner I picked.
You didn't pick me, I picked you.
Why?
Because you gave me your last match.
When you first meet these characters, you really don't know anything about them. They're both on the road.
2 drifters.
Hitchhiking,
right? Hitchhiking, yeah.
And for some reason, Pacino is trying to get Hackman's attention, and he starts doing imitations of an ape, and to see Al in this sort of comedic role, and Gene Hackman was such a, he was also funny and a great straight man to Al, and just his reactions, like when they're in that department store and Gene wants to steal a shirt or a jacket.
Gene wants to steal something and he asks Al to create a diversion.
Yes.
And the diversion
it just
diverts Gene, right? So that he forgets to steal.
Just runs crazy throughout the store. And Hackman's look is just priceless. They're both really funny in it. And I love, when I think about why do I have such fond memories of that film, I think because it's the friendship, between those 2. And in rewatching it, I go, this is a love story.
It's totally a love story. That's right. Between these 2 extremely lonely guys who randomly come together.
They're a team. And they become a couple, and, like any couple, then they get into fights. And so I guess Al's character is kind of wanting to make other friendships, but he makes friends with Richard Lynch.
Yeah, it's a good performance.
His character was amazing in it. He's a bit of a con man friendly, but you could tell there's something lurking underneath.
Because he's friendly exactly enough to win over a guy like Pacino, but not a guy like Hackman. Hackman sees right through him, but Pacino's like, oh, great, somebody else is being nice to me, and you're being kind of you're being a jerk to me, so I'm gonna hang out with this guy.
And up until this point, Pacino's character is somewhat naive, somewhat, like a child, the way he views the world. And
so we didn't mention Pacino's on his own, like they're gonna stop in Detroit because Pacino has been in the Navy for 5 years. He left the mother of his child and the child, and he wants to go back and see them both and give a present to his kid who he's never met.
Yeah, so Pacino, he wants to sort of do the right thing, but he does have this very childlike quality to him, and it's in that scene, in the prison scene, that everything changes, because he's so trusting of this character that he should not be. And after that, you could see, Pacino's character is darker.
Right. Steve, very interesting stuff. We'll talk more after the movie. Here it is. from 1973, directed by Jerry Schatzberg, Gene Hackman, and Al Pacino in Scarecrow. Back with Steve Buscemi, I listed some of his movie credits, remarkable movie credits, but also, I mean, sensational four-year run as Nucky Thompson in a four-season run.
Yeah.
And Boardwalk Empire, a couple of Emmy nominations for that. So you've programmed 2 Al Pacino movies, but you've also programmed 2 Penelope Allen movies. And she's not in a lot of movies. She's the wife of a great acting teacher, Charlie Lawton, same name as Charles Lawton, different guy. And you'll see her in one bigger part in Dog Day Afternoon, a small part, one scene in Scarecrow.
It's a seminal scene. I think she just decides in the moment, you hurt me, now I have an opportunity to hurt you.
And I'm going to take it.
Even worse. She regrets it. You know, you could see it in her face.
Immediately, she's such a
how do you
good
come
actor.
back from that?
How do you come back from that? And then I'm struck by the little decisions we make in life that this movie then captures so well. That moment, whatever, 5 minutes earlier in the film or 3 minutes earlier when Pacino says, I don't want to just drop by, I'm going to call her first, right? And if you just drop by, none of this happens.
It would have been different, yes.
None of this happens.
Right.
But he calls, they're a block away, you know? And that changes his life.
But I think that spoke to his fear, too.
Sure, of course.
About, you know, he's come all this way and now here's the moment of truth. And
he's scared.
yeah, I mean, he loses it. You know, there's that scene at the fountain where he just can't control himself.
And children,
kids
like
and
the life he gave up.
That is beyond heartbreaking.
And the attempted sexual assault, and we presume it's attempted. We don't even know.
Yeah.
We don't know. I mean, his eyes closed, he's bleeding. This guy just attempted to, or perhaps did, sexually assault him. You know, he still gives a, you should see the other guy, you know, to Hackman. And then instantly, you know, Hackman, I mean, just the way Hackman gets out of bed to greet, like all the animosity, he's like, oh, Lion, no, now he needs me. My friend needs me.
Yeah, and that's why I was, you know, saying it is like a love story because up at, you know, at that point, Hackman, you know, says he didn't want anything to do with him, and you know, this is it. And then when he, you know, realizes what happened to his, you know, to Al, he just immediately wants retribution.
And he's going to defend him.
Yeah.
And we also learn why he sleeps with the shoe under the pillow, right?
And why he says he likes layers because he's cold, but he just wants to keep everything close to him, everything on him.
Yeah.
You know?
But here he is, breaking the seal and taking the $10 bill out of the heel of his boot.
And that's what's amazing about the film, too, that I love, is the humor in it. It tackles some pretty serious stuff.
Very serious, yeah.
But yet, there's always, you know, some sort of humor in it that's, you know, really poignant. That's a testament to Jerry Schatzberg as a director. I think he trusted his actors a lot and gave them a lot of freedom. Trusted the filmmaking, you know, that you don't need to over-dramatize something or, you know, come in with a heavy score or, you know, to indicate how the audience should feel. I think he just trusted that the story was enough and these characters are strong enough. And I love films, I love stories that are told through character.
Yeah, talking about Hackman and Pacino, that they didn't connect. And Pacino clearly now regrets that he was so caught up in his way that he couldn't quite see Hackman's way, and then he felt like he knew him after the movie, but by then the movie's over. What do you do when you're in a situation where you're not getting along with the other actor or the styles are so different that it causes a problem? Or, I mean, I get the feeling everybody likes you. Well, you may argue with me there, but it's not true. Everybody likes you. I know it. I've heard too much about it.
But I actually, when we did Reservoir Dogs, Chris Penn decided that he did not like my character, and he treated me as such through the rehearsals.
Because he didn't like Mr. Pink.
And he did not like Mr. Pink, and he was not, you know, but it sort of bled over, and so at first I felt kind of bad about it, but then I went, well, it doesn't really affect how I'm going to do my work, you know. I mean, I do like to, you know, sometimes bond with the actors that I'm working with. Yeah. Tim Roth and we had a great time. I just loved hanging out with him, and so I felt a little bad, but he told me when we went to Sundance, Chris said he apologized. He says, hey man, I just decided that, you know, my character didn't like your character. But now the movie's over. Come on, let's get a drink. Let's see.
Yeah, maybe a little note, like I'm gonna be a giant jerk to you. Just FYI, don't take it personally. Steve, great stuff. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Don't go away. Steve and I return momentarily with another Al Pacino feature made 2 years later. Dog Day Afternoon is next on TCM.
Next on TCM, Dog Day Afternoon, then Pale Flower, and later, Hang 'em High. We're at the end of our rope on TCM tonight.
I'm back with Steve Buscemi, one of my favorite actors, flat out.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for being here, programming this double feature. We just saw Al Pacino and Gene Hackman in Scarecrow from 1973. Here we are 2 years later, 1975, and we have Pacino with an equally talented co-star in John Cazale in Dog Day Afternoon. Cazale and Pacino and a third person planned this bank robbery in Brooklyn. But right away, we learned in the first 5 minutes of the movie that one of the guys literally quits the bank robbery in the middle, leaving just Cazale and Pacino there to finish the job.
Which was like a revelation, too, because, you know, whenever you saw like a heist movie before that, you know, I don't think I've ever seen a character, you know, sort of get cold feet at the last second.
In the bank.
In the bank.
With a gun in his hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Pacino is kind of understanding.
Yeah.
Like,
what are you going to do? He's got cold feet. He's got to go. Yeah.
Stevie, don't take the car. But how will I get home? Take the subway. We need the car.
Dog Day Afternoon. Very funny.
Another very funny movie.
That
but
isn't
also,
funny. Right, that is not a comedy. Right.
Yeah.
So Cazale was in 5 movies, and his career cut very short by his death from cancer. And all 5 of those movies nominated for Best Picture. It's a staggering achievement. Deer Hunter, Dog Day Afternoon, Godfather Part 2, and The Conversation.
Yeah. And the thing that amazed me was I don't think I realized right away that who John Cazale was. I had, you know, when I saw Dog Day Afternoon, I was like, who's this guy?
And you would have seen it like probably when it came out, right?
Yeah, but I had already seen him in The Godfather.
And you didn't recognize him?
Not at all. I just looked at this guy like, who's this guy? Like, wow. I don't know when I realized that he was the same actor. That just blew me away. And I also read that Lumet didn't want Cazale initially.
Oh, is that right? Wow.
Yeah, he thought the character should be younger and different looking, and but I think because, you know, Pacino sort of insisted, well, just see him, just talk to him. And I don't know what that meeting was like, but after that, Lumet said, oh, yes.
And I'm wondering then whether it's because there's much more of a threat of violence, as you'll see in the film, from Cazale than Pacino, even though they're both robbing the bank. But you know, it's this low-key, but it's clear.
He's the truly scary character in this. You think of, you know, the difference between Fredo and The Godfather. You know, he was sort of the inept brother, right? And in this, you believe it when he says that he'll start shooting up the place.
And Pacino never says, like, no, I didn't mean that. But he's like,
right.
He knows right then, all right, I got to keep an eye on the hostages, and I'm going to have to keep an eye on Sal.
I ain't going back to that prison, Sonny.
A lot of this movie's on the phone. Charles Durning is the lead New York cop before the FBI comes in. And when is Durning not sensational? So they're on the phone a lot. Durning does a lot of yelling, telling Pacino to calm down. You just feel the mountain of pressure building and building and building. And all the hostages in the bank, which include, we talked about Penelope Allen.
Well, this is what I love, too, about the movie, is that it's an ensemble film.
Yeah.
Every character who's in the bank, Carol Kane and Sully Boyer, Penny Allen, you're just with them and you're rooting for them. It's a weird movie because you're rooting for both sides.
You don't have any idea what exactly you're rooting for, but you know when you're rooting. Like, you know, this is a beautiful film about robbing a bank on a sweltering hot New York day. And it is also, you live here, you grew up here, this is a New York movie.
Well, that was the thing, watching this, you know, film that took place in Brooklyn.
True story, happened in 1972. You'll see it right in the beginning, for the crawl across the beginning. This really happened in August of 1972.
And all the craziness in it and how Lumet captured it, you know, that crazy energy of Durning. And then when James Broderick character comes in, and there's like, agent. You know, and then it's things start to settle down and he's calm and the tone really shifts. Yeah. It's just an amazing film.
It is an amazing film, and let's watch it now. This is the film that gave us the line, Attica, Attica, Attica. We can talk about that after we see it. Here it is, from 1975, with a cast led by Al Pacino, also John Cazale, Charles Durning, Penelope Allen, and a host of other talented actors. Dog Day Afternoon. Back with Steve Buscemi, who programmed this double feature tonight. Not only Dog Day Afternoon, which we just saw, but Scarecrow, which we had earlier tonight, another Al Pacino film. Man, I've seen it 8 times, 10 times. I don't know. It never fails to move me. And the connection, the humanity given these characters, and specifically what was a big deal, clearly. And you see it in that wonderful scene, the phone call between Chris Sarandon, between Leon and Sonny, Al Pacino. It's really something.
Yeah, I mean, they were depicting gay marriage.
With a trans theme thrown in, you know?
Yeah.
And the way they talk, and the people in the bank they're respecting of it, even as they listen in on this phone conversation. And I'm sure the cops, I think there's some shots of cops
There
snickering.
is one, scene where they're in the barbershop and the cops are there, and one of them snickers. But I can't remember.
I think it might be
if it's
Durning, I think.
Broderick or Durning gives them a look
like, hey, man,
no,
don't do that.
Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. Yeah. You know, Lumet, you see it in 12 Angry Men, too. Like, this is a guy who understood heat and claustrophobia in New York. You know, he liked making movies where the location and the external pressures were felt by the characters.
Yeah, because all of the people that show up outside, they become like this mass character in the film that sort of eggs Pacino's character on, gives him energy.
As many times as I've seen it, I did never recall that at one point the crowd mocks Durning and repeats everything he says to Sonny, you know, come on, Sonny, and they go, come on, Sonny, and there's such, and some of the crowd's involvement was impromptu because the second assistant director, I think maybe the first assistant director, came to Pacino and said in one of the scenes where he came outside, they'd referenced Attica earlier, but the guy comes in and says, just say Attica. Just say Attica. Pacino's like, what? He goes, say Attica. Let's just see what happens.
Attica! Attica! Attica!
And the crowd, in that actual moment, got worked up into a frenzy, and it became this signature moment in the film.
And I think some of the crowd, at least, were not, paid background actors. They're people that just showed up because they wanted to see what was going on.
They're shooting a movie, shooting an Al Pacino picture right here at this bank in Brooklyn. It's such a New York movie. And there's going to be bloodshed.